It's done. Red Star is sitting right over there, and it's done. But in order to actually show you everything, this was a multi-day shoot. You're going to see me changing shirts. My hair might be slightly different in different places because there's problems that come up whenever you're doing a water cooling build. And that's exactly what I'm walking you through, is the problems, how I overcame them, and the individual specifics about what I was doing through this entire process. So this part of the series might be a little less polished. I had a little bit of difficulty actually shooting these scenes. Hey, it was my first time actually trying to record myself and do this kind of a project. In this video, I'm specifically going to talk about routing and how I'm going to lay out my water cooling for Project Red Star. If you would like to learn how to improve your gaming performance, start now by clicking that subscribe button. Oh, by the way, I'm TheGrayingTech. So sometimes when you're doing a custom build, a custom water loop like this, you're going to run into an issue like I have right now. There's two things that I want to cover for you that are going on. The first, got to move this over. That wasn't it. Don't worry. The first, you'll see right here, right in the upper corner, I am trying to fit a bracket right there. And in addition to that bracket, I'm also trying to make sure that I have a water coupler in there as well, a fitting. In order to reach that spot though, I had to loosen the top mount of the cylinder and then rotate the entire assembly outwards so that I could actually get access to that. So now I can take the fitting and I can actually secure it. So now you can see the fitting itself is secured, and I'm just going to rotate this back around. There we go. And now you can see it is properly secure inside of there. The fitting is accessible, and now I can run the tube. I bring this up because I want to make sure that you understand that just because things come assembled, you can still take them apart in these kind of builds. I was able to get proper access to the exact area I was looking for because I could unscrew the cap just a little bit. Now here's the second problem that I'm encountering. See, I'm going to mount a fan back here. I have the bracket for here and here, I'll call it kind of all set. But in order to get everything to work, I actually had to mount the bracket, which is really designed to fit on a 360 rad. I had to mount it to my fan assembly. In addition, I mounted the bottom assembly to where the radiator or fan assembly would go on the case. And so what I'm going to have to do is actually use longer screws that will go completely through the fan assembly, through the case, that I can then put a nut on the other side to secure everything and make sure nothing is going to be loose, rattling, or any of that. When it comes to custom loops like these, you might have to do some level of modification to get things to work exactly perfect the way you want. Always a good idea to have some spare drill bits, some screws, some nuts, some stoppers, some washers that might allow you to manipulate things to get it exactly the way that you were looking for. Okay, so now that we have the cylinder itself mounted, we can start to talk and think through the routing that we're going to use in order to get the liquid moved around the case. So first and foremost, I want to hide as much routing as I possibly can. In order to do that, I'm going to leverage the fact that the fans and the radiator sit here, and there's a nice, lovely channel behind where those components are going to sit. So when you look at it from this view, this front view, you're actually going to not see as many tubes as you might on a traditional system. So this is essentially going to mean leveraging the output right here. We're going to use that output. We're going to turn it, and then I'm going to do a little surprise something here with the CPU and the GPU itself. Radiator top, radiator bottom with a post here in the middle. It's going to allow the liquid to move basically top to bottom. And then coming back in, top of the reservoir. Another thing to note here, I have my drain valve right here in the bottom side. This will allow me to drain old liquid away. It will probably use more liquid when it comes time to flushing the system because it's directly connected to the output of the cylinder, but that should allow us at least to flush it, even if it does require just a tiny bit more water in order to do that. So the next thing that I'm going to start doing as the radiators themselves are getting kind of their cleaning and their bath, I'm going to start planning the routes, and I'm going to start making some slight cuts and some slight measurements in order to get things dialed in exactly the way that I want. All right, so here you can see where I stand right now. So I have installed the tube itself. I had to drill a hole into the top of the case so that I could get access to right here, which is where I will be filling the reservoir tube itself. Additionally, I have installed a couple of the fittings that I will be using to route the water the way I want. Now, I will tell you, I really wanted to have as few bends as I possibly could get, and I wanted to hide the tubing itself as much as possible, going for a quasi-ghost build, if you will. So I really wanted to take advantage of back here, behind the actual plate that the motherboard itself mounts to, but I couldn't because the PSU is in the way, and the fan assembly, and the cables, and everything else that I've put on here is standing in the way. So instead, I will be running a vertical tube right here to the radiator that's going to be on the top. And then I'm running parallel to both of the radiators and fan assemblies, the actual tubes that are going to be moving the majority of the water around. And then I have one other little cool thing that I'm going to do right here in the middle. It's actually a little bit of a controversy. Hey, there's always controversy when it comes to PCs, it seems. But it's a little bit of a controversy. You see, I am going to run in parallel, not serial, meaning the water is not going to flow directly from one part to another part in a constant loop that doesn't repeat. In fact, it's going to run to both my GPU and CPU simultaneously and provide cooling that way. And I will show you exactly what I mean once everything is all nice and set up, but the concern is, of course, performance. And from what the majority of the experts say, it's not really that big of a deal. It's the same reason why adding more water to your loop doesn't improve the temperature. Once the water becomes a stable temperature all around, moving it around is what matters the most. You're still going to have, generally speaking, the same temperature as it were. So I'm going to finish up. I'm going to button up a lot more of the pieces,